Take an hour to yourself, save some lives while you're at it, and build that into your routine and be proud about it. Wear your heart on your sleeve that you're a bloody good human and contributing to the community. It doesn't just finish in a bag on a machine when you're done. That goes to a hospital at some point into someone's body and sustains their life. Sometimes you need life to hit that emergency stop for you to actually reassess. And you touched on a point there as well that you might be resentful, right, that you can't get to work. And I found myself, I might be at work, working hard on long days and being upset that I'm not at home with the kids or doing something. But then I'm at home with the kids and I'm getting upset that I can't work or do the things that I want. And so I'm always just projecting myself into this other space that I'm not, instead of just being present in that moment and enjoying that moment for what it is. And like, kids don't need that much. So the studies say that if you give them 15 minutes of autonomy where they can make decisions, do child-led play, and 15 minutes of some sort of love and engaging task, that's really all they need in a day. So if you can just be wholly present for a short amount of time, they'll benefit so much and develop well, but it'll fill your cup as well. You'll feel so good about it. And then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So talk to me about the decision. You've got 3 young kids, you're a single dad, and you go, let's jump in a van and go around Australia.
Yeah. Look, traveling is something I've been wanting to do for a while with them, but we're always just too busy. There was always something else that was in the way. I've been donating blood for 25 years, and it became less of something I did and more of who I was. I just kept doing it. And after having this emergency stop hit in my life and doing some deep work to work out who I am and what I'm about, I was having a regular donation at the Sydney Town Hall Blood Bank, and the nurse was talking to me about how many donations I've done and where I've donated at. I said, yeah, look, I've donated these centres. That was really cool. She just had this throwaway comment: you should do all of them. And I laid in bed that night and it echoed through my head, do all of them, do all of them. And I thought, you know what, there is something here. And, the mission of sharing blood donation and that doing good feels good is really important. But the other mission as well is to teach your kids to have courage, to dream big and do big stuff, but also to serve your community. And, the Bloody Good Tour was just born out of, this beautiful, beautiful consolidation of all these different elements of my life, the curious individual, the father, the blood donor, the passionate, community member. And this just came together into this crazy beast.
Yeah. And as you've gone through, you're about 3 months into the tour, is that right?
Yeah. We left 1st of August.
Yep. And you started where?
Central Coast. So we started just south of Newcastle. We spent 1 month racing up to Cairns, and we did 8 donor centres on that path, and 2 months on the way back down doing another 16 donor centres. So instead of doing one big lap of Australia, doing a couple of smaller loops, so I can bring the kids home, they can spend some quality time with mum, their rest of the family, grandparents. They're even going to have a day at their old school, do a bit of a show and tell, a bit of a presentation, and reconnect with their teachers and fellow students. And then we kick off on the next leg.
Yeah, brilliant. So talk to me about, what are some of the statistics that, people may not know around blood donation in Australia?
Yeah, okay. Look, I'll cover the most common ones first, because I think they're so pertinent and need to get hit home, that 1 in 3 Aussies will need blood at some point in their life. So everyone knows someone that either has needed it or will need it. Then that, of the, almost 28 million Aussies, about 10 million are eligible, but only 3% of the population donate. And something 3%. I learned last year, only 3%, right? So in a room of 100 people, 33 of them are going to need blood, but three of them only are donating to support all of those people. And one of the most shocking things which I learned last year, which really kicked this off, is that Australia actually imports about 40% of our blood and blood products because we don't have enough here. And I think, wow, we are exporting the joy of doing something good for your community. And I found that I was gobsmacked by that, and I guess that's part of the reason why I've got the really bloody good, phrase on this mission, because we're doing it for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah. When you look at the statistics, Simo, do you know, has it been on a slide down of donation, or are we increasing, or has it just been pretty stagnant?
Yeah, good question. So the number of donations that we're actually getting each year is generally on an upward trend.
Yep.
But through science, research, technology, and innovation, they keep finding more uses for blood. So plasma, which is one of the components which makes up just half of your blood, it's mostly the fluid. So it's mostly water, really, but it's got really good proteins and antibodies. They now turn that into 18 different products, which then can be
Wow.
used in over 50 different conditions. And so the number of uses for blood and blood products keeps increasing, so the demand increases as well.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
for someone that has never donated before, what do they need to know? What do they need to do to kind of donate?
Yeah. The best thing to do is to actually call Lifeblood, 131495, and you can have a chat to someone about your eligibility. You can take an online eligibility survey on the Lifeblood website. Look, generally, if you're aged between 18 and 70, over 50 kilos, and in moderate health, you don't need to be an athlete, you're possibly going to be eligible.
Yeah, perfect. And as you've gone through, obviously you're 3 months into the tour, talk to me about some of the conversations or stories you've heard along the way.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite part about this tour has just been connecting with people. I've met a lot of recipients, so people that need blood and blood products, and their stories are really touching. Um, the process of donating blood needs to be clinical, right? We're talking about a medical products, right? So the quality standards are so tight. So it is a clinical product, and at the end of that, your blood is in a bag, and that's how it finishes. But to meet recipients and hear their stories about they've received immunoglobulins, which have been made from plasma, which come from my donation, and that child that's now 6 was able to live past 4, and they now have a whole bright life ahead of them. Or someone that's in their 60s has actually now been able to live and see their grandkids, and support their kids with those grandkids. So the flow-on effect is incredible, right? It's not just the person that receives your product; it's their families, their colleagues, the communities. So that's been really inspiring. And actually, I've met so many donors as I go into the donor centers, and each of them's got such an interesting and unique story about why they donated, and sometimes even why they didn't donate in the past. I met a lady this morning that was petrified of needles. Always wanted to donate, but she was petrified of needles. And so for years, she just never did it. And a couple of years ago, she had her first child, and that process of being pregnant and giving birth is quite a process, and it can involve needles, but there's other sorts of pain elements there. And on the back of that, she was like, well, if I can do this, then the needles are nothing. And she now donates quite regularly. She's done dozens of donations, and she feels so good about it. In fact, she and her partner, one of them donates while the other one sits with the kid in the refreshments area and has a chalky milkshake and cheese, and then they tag team in. And I thought, wow, like if you say you're too busy or you're scared of needles, that story right there has got to make you do a double take and think about it.
Wow. So how many donor centers in Australia?
So there's 78, although I expect that by the time I finish, there'll be a couple more. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
brilliant.
also, they also have the mobile unit. So they sometimes set up pop-up centers, like near shopping centers, and they have the mobile buses that operate in some areas. And those pop-ups and mobile buses will do whole blood donations.
Yeah. What's the impact, Simo, that you want to make at the end of your tour? What do you want to see has made a difference in the blood donations?
Yeah, look, our ultimate goal is to save 100,000 lives. It's extremely ambitious to get there within the 12 months. But what I want to do is I want to start a movement of bloody good humans, right, that are rolling up their sleeves to do it for the community, for themselves, right, and for future generations. This whole point that doing good feels good is I think something that's overlooked. Get in there, take an hour to yourself, chill out, or meet a friend there, and save some lives while you're at it, and build that into your routine. Right, make it a routine, and be proud about it. Wear your heart on your sleeve that you're a bloody good human and contributing to the community.
That's awesome. And do they still provide the updates? Because I know there used to be like text updates that used to come through, or updates that said your blood's just being used somewhere.
Yeah. So sometimes they do that, and that makes it really special. Like we're talking about, it doesn't just finish in a bag and on a machine when you're done. That goes to a hospital, or at some point into someone's body, and sustains their life.